Welcome to New Stripe City, a podcast for diehard Bengals fans. I'm your host, Ace Boogie. Of course, my partner in crime is G.
Yeah.
What up, G? Yeah, G was talking about how the Cavs just got D Wade. Not a bad move.
Yeah, I was just having, conversations, looking at sports news for the day.
Right. Nothing wrong with that. So, man, we over here at 0-3. It's not ideal. Not what we really expected. We kind of had some pretty good expectations for this team. But here we are. It's week 3. It's week 4 actually, and now we're 0-3. Um, so first, before we just get into everything, let's first. I guess it would only be right for us to recap the actual game. So, G, what are your thoughts on the last game?
Sunday's game, obviously, offense is in a better place. Obviously, it looks like Lasers trying to get the ball into our playmakers' hands, which is Mixon in the backfield and getting the ball out to AJ. So I do like the way that the offense was starting to look this Sunday. Do they still need to get better? Obviously, yes. But I think that the offense is going in the right direction. Like, it's crazy how much of a change even though we did lose, how much of a change we saw in the offense versus the last 2 weeks. So I think the change is here. I hope they continue to go in that direction. And they played a pretty decent game on Sunday. They were playing Aaron Rodgers in Lambeau Field. So
Exactly.
That's how I feel about this particular game.
Exactly. I think you hit the nail on the head. I mean, honestly, coming into this week, I kind of really was just more realistic about the situation just because, like you said, when you're going into a game where you have to play a quarterback like Aaron Rodgers in Lambeau Field, it doesn't matter what the stats say in terms of, because I heard this all week, but we always beat Aaron Rodgers, and we're the only team that Aaron Rodgers hasn't beat. But at the same time, I don't think people really were grasping the magnitude of who we were playing.
Right.
Like, at the end of the day, this is a guy that's a future Hall of Famer. I mean, if Tom Brady is 1A, he's 1B.
Exactly.
To me, like, when you have a quarterback like that, they're always an X factor in any game. A good quarterback can keep you in any game. And people were saying, "Oh, they have all these injuries." Look, man, I don't. People who play fantasy football know it doesn't matter who Aaron Rodgers has out there.
Aaron Rodgers
He's gonna hit somebody. He's gonna hit somebody, and it's crazy because before the game last week, I wish we would have been able to do a show before the game, but I was just telling some cats like Geronimo Allison. I literally said this before the game. Geronimo Allison to come out of nowhere and hit you with a touchdown, and then you just looking like, what happened? But that's what happens when you play a guy of the magnitude of Aaron Rodgers. And another thing that I noticed last week is because everybody was saying, we always beat the Packers, I went back and looked at the actual record, and it's like this 2011 Bengals team has only beat them one time.
And then it was one time in 2013.
Right. The one time in 2013. That was the only time.
Oh, that was
they've actually beat Aaron Rodgers, that team. And it's like, I can't really put too much weight on, we always beat Aaron Rodgers when the last time that we played him in Lambeau, Chad was on the team.
Right.
Like, that stat goes out there. That's not even the same team. Exactly. So to me, I was definitely feeling like we would be at 0-3. But what I will say is I won't be pessimistic or anything like that. But what I will say is I'm glad to see them come out with some effort.
Yeah.
Obviously, there were still some bad things, but I was glad to see them come out with some effort. I was glad to see them, come out and jump out early.
And for most of the game, too.
Like you said, they were in it for the most of the game. There were miscues here and there, but for the most part, they showed up to play. And from what I heard, there were a lot of guys that actually were spending a whole bunch of time at PBS and figuring out how to learn this offense. From what I hear, like, the offense honestly didn't change much. It was just more so guys getting more familiar with actually playing in the offense. And then you saw them use Joe Mixon more. You obviously saw them target AJ. But, after giving them some positives, I think, like you said, the offense came to play. I'll get into the negatives, and I'm not trying to be a Debbie Downer or anything like that, but there were specific things that I didn't like that didn't change. Um,
Okay.
to me, I've been getting on Andy Dalton these last 2 weeks. So let me first say, Andy Dalton didn't play that bad of a game. He actually played pretty decent. He definitely had some bad moments though, some miscues that he had with missing guys that were open for touchdowns and first downs, which we've seen that the past 2 weeks, and that's what some people kind of get carried away with just looking straight at the stats, and plays like that don't show up in the stats where you missed a guy for a touchdown that was wide open. But I'm not even going to put it all on him. He could have played better in some instances. I think that sack that he took at the end of the game, which also kind of snowballed into the missed field goal, definitely was a key play. But I'm not putting the blame on him. Marvin Lewis, man, Marvin Lewis.
Still can't call a
I'm so
timeout.
I'm so tired of him, man. I'm gonna let you rock. I'm gonna let you rock, G. I'm gonna definitely let you rock on Marvin, but I'm gonna just say this because I tend to be between me and you. I'm sort of like the Marvin Lewis apologist, even though last year on this show I went in on him on the funeral episode. But I'm just so tired of seeing this team only put together one half of football. It's just ridiculous, and it's like it's either we come out too slow in the first half, and then in the second half we're on fire, but we just fall short, or it's the reverse. I mean, you put up what was it, 21 points in the first half, or
Yeah,
was it 17? It was
21.
either 17 or 21. It was 21 points in the first half, and in the second half you scored 3 total points. And then like this whole conservative play calling, that's Marvin Lewis. That's Marvin Lewis. Like, I'm not saying that these guys need to go out there and go do something drastic like some trick plays or something like. But when it's 4th and 1 and stuff like that, where you're playing a guy like Aaron Rodgers, you have to go for it. You can't give the ball back to Aaron Rodgers. Like the whole time I'm sitting there looking at the fourth quarter, and I'm like, I already know what's about to happen, bro. I'm sitting. I just got down here to Orlando. I'm sitting over here at B Dubs. I'm like, man, I already know what's about to happen. You gave Aaron Rodgers 3 minutes. 3 minutes. If you gave Aaron Rodgers 1 minute, that's way too
All
much.
he needed was 1 minute.
All he needed was, but it's like, instead of keeping your foot on the gas, you try to do this conservative stuff, and the conservative stuff lets these guys back into the game. And to me, that was like the biggest disappointment. And it's really all about coaching, man. Like
It's
to,
absolutely.
to me it's the coaching. It's like William Jackson III
Oh, yeah,
comes into the game, has a pick six, and you bench him. And you bench him? What sense does that make, man? Like I
yeah.
really don't.
I
I
understand.
really
They took. I
go.
understand because he had a penalty call. So I get you taking him out for maybe a few plays, but you don't bench him for the rest of the game, or you don't bench him for a long period of time. Okay, make him think about it for a play or two.
Right.
Make him think in the game. Keep the momentum going.
But this is my thing, and this is what I don't like with Marvin Lewis is he likes to make examples out of young players, but there's veterans that make the same mistakes that he keeps in the game. And for example, Pac-Man Jones.
24.
Not trying to hate on Pac-Man. He had 2 key penalties in that game with pass interference. You kept him in the game. The week before, even though John Ross fumbled at a bad point in the game, Jeremy Hill basically, even though we were covered up, Jeremy Hill basically fumbled in that game, but you kept him in the game. Like, come on, man. Like, if that's what you're gonna do, you have to be consistent with it. And Marvin, to me, he just doesn't. It's just time for us to have some new leadership. So, G, I'll let you give your thoughts on Marvin, but I think that's what the negative was from this game.
Where do I begin? I've been trying to get Marvin Lewis out of there since 2015. In my opinion, Zimmer should have been the head coach. That was the time to make the move because Zimmer had to respect. I think the biggest issue with Marvin Lewis is these players don't respect him. Like I sat down and watched him, like watching the game on the sideline, like Carlos Dunlap was like in his face going off about something. It's like these dudes don't even respect you, like because they understand that you don't really have any control here. Like and after all these years, we're still dealing with timeout issues. Why has no one put him into a timeout calling course or something? Because dude will run through 3 timeouts and a half in a heartbeat. And I don't understand that after all these years, we still can't call timeouts. You still have no control over your team. Your veterans don't respect you. And because your veterans don't respect you, why do you think the rookies don't respect you? And I do agree with you. I do think that he plays favorites to some people. And again, that's not going to help you get any respect from your team. I don't think he has the motivation. He's not pushing these players to believe that they can win these games. And that's why they aren't winning games. Like, it all starts from your leadership. And if you have poor leadership from your head coach, everything beyond that is just going to crumble as well. So that's why the Bengals, I think, will never be successful at this point. It's Marvin Lewis. He's got to go. And
I totally agree.
There's nobody right now who can fill his position that's on our coaching roster. Absolutely. Right. But he's got to go if you want to see real changes in Cincinnati. But I don't know if Mike Brown is really trying to see those changes.
And yep, that you hit it right on the head. And it's like you said, man, I can't remember the last time we're in a crucial moment of a game, like let's say the last 3 minutes of a game. I can't remember the last time we've actually had all 3 timeouts. We always have 2. We always have 2. And it's like, we always have 2. And it's like he's gambling. It's crazy to me how you can gamble on hoping that the 2-minute, the 2-minute drill, or I mean, not the 2-minute drill, but the last 2 minutes or whatever are going to save you as a timeout, but you can't go for it on 3rd and 1 or 4th and 1. Like, man, I'm just
I don't understand. And I mean, I've never played football myself, and this is just from my standpoint of years and years of watching the game. But you gotta be able to call a timeout better than you've been calling it at this point in your career.
Right, it's ridiculous.
It's ridiculous. This is just
you've been coaching for 15 years and you don't know how to call timeouts.
It's unacceptable. Like, people get fired for lesser things. And you still around calling wrong timeouts for 15 years.
Right. So, yeah, Marvin Lewis. I really don't know what's going to happen with Marvin Lewis. The Bengals fan of me knows that he'll probably be here until the end of the season. But honestly, I don't know, man. Like, if we go 0-6, it's kind of hard for me to see, Marvin finishing this season.
But who are you going to bring in to replace him mid-season?
I think, and I mean, I'm just talking from my standpoint of what I would do. I'm not a GM. I don't have any NFL experience or any of that. But to me, if you're going to get rid of a coach and you're going to have to start to look towards who's going to be the new head coach, you kind of have to first see what you have in-house. So I would think that the logical Bengals fan thinking inside of what I'm thinking of right now would probably be Paul Guenther. I think you could see Paul Guenther get a look. I've heard my buddy Nardo seems to think that the special teams coordinator, Darren Simmons, would get a look. Mike Brown is kind of a loyal guy, so I could see him going that route. But I think if you do decide to do that, you need to see how they can actually coach in an actual game before you just make a decision like that. So
bringing them Zampese.
Right. So to me, it's like you kind of have to, in a sense, let Marvin go so you can see that. Mm-hmm. So you can see what that person can do in terms of the head coaching position. But you could bring up a great point, like who else would they replace him with? And I mean, it's still real early. We still don't know how, things are going to go. But I think it's probably an 80% chance now that Marvin Lewis will not be with this team next year. But, I think it's going to depend on what the fans do. And the reason I say that is, and people are probably like, Mike Brown doesn't care about the fans. Mike Brown doesn't care about the fans until it hits him in his pockets. And I tried. Right, exactly. You got to hit him where it hurts. And, a lot of people are saying, they don't see, this team getting blown up. I don't think it's going to be a major blow up, but I think that 2 guys' jobs will be on the line. This year, I think Marvin Lewis has 1 foot out the door, but Andy Dalton isn't really far behind him. And the reason that I say that is because if you bring in a new coach, is that guy really going to think that Andy Dalton is his guy? And I mean, I think it's shown this year that Andy Dalton can be a good quarterback if you have the right tools around him. But if you're counting on him to win a game,
Yeah.
no,
Okay.
no, no. And I mean, we've already seen now that he's not that great of a quarterback without a good offensive line. So, you know, there could be a lot of big changes coming up if this season doesn't turn around.
That's a really good point that I never thought about with Andy Dalton. It's kind of like he is one of those quarterbacks where the supporting cast has to be in place in order for him to be successful. And then even to think about when he's been playing for us, I don't think that he's had a season where he's had the same offensive coordinator for like more than 2 years, which is
Right.
interesting because most quarterbacks are used to having the same offensive coordinator for a period of time. But for him to not, I guess, learn as much from having these different coaches who have different styles and not to grasp those different things, to me, like on a professional level, something's missing. Because you got to be able to do like an Aaron Rodgers. You got to be able to do like a hell Deshaun Watson this weekend. Rookie went in,
Right.
played his game, and almost beat the Patriots. And he's never going to do that. And he's never
Right.
going to have that drive to, hey, like, nah, we win in this game. I just don't see it in him. He doesn't have the drive to win games or finish
And
games.
it's like and I feel you, and it's like it's plain as day. But some of our fans think that he's just this great quarterback, and
He's a
it's
nice.
always been a perfect example that I can break it down as is I'm a diehard Bengals fan, but I could never see myself buying an Andy Dalton jersey. Let's just put it like that. Like Andy Dalton was never an option for me, and I'm not saying that he's a bad quarterback. It's just like I don't know. Like I'm not sold on Andy Dalton like that.
I guess I'm trying to like, and I even think about like an AJ McCarron. AJ McCarron has that winning personality. Like, y'all, like, we got to get on this field. We're about to get in the end zone. Let the defense come in, and then we're going to get right back on the field. Like, I feel like that's
Right.
the way AJ McCarron kind of thinks, and that's like his drive. Like, hell, he almost won us that playoff game in 2015. It wasn't
Thank you,
easy.
man.
And I just think, like, Andy's not having that kind of conversation with his players in the huddle. Like, all right, guys, let's try to get in the end zone. Like, no, like, and then what was that
Right.
we saw? They showed a commercial, or somebody showed a highlight of Andy Dalton, like in the huddle, like trying to,
Oh my God. Yep.
like, I don't want a player like that, like as my quarterback trying to hype me up. Like,
And win together. No, that was horrible. It
no,
was
like,
horrible.
I would rather have AJ McCarron taking me all the way than Andy Dalton. And I know that
Right.
AJ McCarron is the backup, but I just feel like he just has that will, that desire to win more than Andy Dalton does. Like that killer instinct.
Right. Right. I mean, I'd have to agree with you from a personality standpoint. It's not even just to me. My whole thing isn't even just about what he does on the field, which is definitely a major part in it. But it's also his personality. Like the guy gets caught with like this reindeer in the headlights look
My
every
mom,
single time, and it's like we're looking at like not even on a skill level. Look at how confident Aaron Rodgers was at the end of that game, even when they were down, compared to when Andy Dalton goes into that same situation. It's like the dude is shook. It's like, and I mean, I don't like to pile on him because the national media already does it. But dude, like you're the leader. You want to be the leader of this team, then you're supposed to act confident. You're supposed to come out like you're ready to come out here and get this win. And I just don't get that from Andy Dalton. I don't get it. I didn't really get it from Palmer that much either,
me
but
either.
I at least got it. I got more of it from Carson Palmer than I've gotten from Andy Dalton in terms of the leadership thing, in terms of, and I can't even say leadership, but like, okay, it's the last 2 minutes of the game. We're going to go down and score. I can see Carson going out and saying that.
Yeah.
Andy, I'm not so sure about. And
Let's
the
try again.
thing is, the thing is, I hate too how much this team and this organization babies him. I can't stand. It's like you don't hold dude accountable at all, and
Marvin.
it's like you have to hold a quarterback accountable. Joe Flacco went out and threw 4 interceptions against the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Sit
His
down.
ass was sitting on the bench. Andy Dalton can go out and throw 5 turnovers, and the coach is coming out after the game saying he doesn't have to worry about his job. Like
NFL, everybody should be worried about their job.
There's only 2 people in the NFL that should be able to do that, and that is Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady. Nobody else should be able to go out there and throw 4 turnovers and still be in the game. But he didn't do that this game. I'm not gonna try to go in on him, but that's just an example too of I just don't like how they baby him, man. Like any quarterback that would go out and perform like that in any game would at least get benched for a drive or two or something. And it's like a lot of people are I really don't understand what the logic is and why people don't understand the gravity of why AJ McCarron should play. The guy almost won you a playoff game. He came back from down 17 points against the Steelers, who are always in our heads, who have always dominated us. And in any game that I've ever seen them where they've went up 17-0, we've gotten murdered in those games. I'm just going to be real. I hate the Squealers, but when in the past, when that stuff has happened, we're not coming back from those games. And to me, like Andy Dalton, as good as he was in 2015, coming down from 17, I wouldn't have trusted him to come back in a game like that. And not only did he do that, this was a playoff game. It's against the Steelers. The weather conditions were horrible. This is another thing. When Andy has a bad game, or not even a bad game, but if he goes out and throws a turnover, he gets so scared that he's going to throw another one that he won't even take the chances. Mm-hmm. AJ McCarron in that game threw an interception early. He threw an interception. It was bad, but that didn't stop him from having the confidence to throw the touchdown that ended up giving us the lead and later on in the game. Like, what else do you want?
See, that's the type of quarterback I want. I want the quarterback that no matter what it looks like I'm still in my head believing that we can win this game, like no matter what. Like,
and that's what you have in McCarron. And then it's like people try to take away from him, but it's like not only did he do that, okay, that was the biggest thing. We really should have won the game if Jeremy Hill doesn't fumble or if Vontez and Pac-Man, but we're not gonna bring that up. But let's go. Okay, let's talk about 2 weeks prior to that, where McCarron almost ends up sealing up a first-round bye for us too, against one of the best defenses of all time in the Broncos.
I mean, dude has a will and a desire to win, and when the leader of the offense has that, right, you can ride with him. But if you're
I understand what people are saying. You have to give Andy Dalton a chance with the new offensive coordinator. I understand that, but like the way that this team is heading, I don't understand like why McCarron doesn't get a shot. Like if you go 0-5, is it really necessary that Andy Dalton has to still be the starter?
I mean, see, but the thing about it is like I don't want to give him a chance because he gets a new offensive coordinator every year. He's never started 0-3. Like this is nothing new to him. He knows that it's a new offensive coordinator. Like, and he's picked right up in the past and figured out how to get it done. If this shit's still if it's still not clicking, then no, like we have other options.
Right. I agree, and it's to the point now where I feel like if the Bengals can turn it around and have a decent season, that's fine. But if they can't, I don't think that you want to draft a new quarterback because then it's almost like you really hitting the reset button.
I won't draft a quarterback either.
And that's not something that I would want to do. But you need to figure out what you have, and it's not even that. It's like you thinking about it from a standpoint of, AJ McCarron is better than Andy Dalton. You need to know what you have in him. Like McCarron is gonna be a free agent, restricted free agent, either this year or next year. You need to know what you have in dude. Like you need to know. Like to me, I don't really think there's much of a difference between him and Andy Dalton. That's just me being real. I don't think that it's a huge gap to the point where it's like you shouldn't consider it.
Talent-wise, I don't think there's any difference between them at all. The biggest difference between them is definitely AJ McCarron's will to win a game. Look at what he did in Alabama. Like this dude is when he was at Alabama, he wasn't like slinging the ball. Like he wasn't an Aaron Rodgers type quarterback. That's not who he is. But he knows how to win games. And at the end of the day, that's all you're worried about, winning the game.
And one thing, exactly, exactly. And I think another thing about McCarron is he doesn't turn the ball over, which is key in any football game. You can't turn the ball over. As a quarterback, you can't turn the ball over. So
Absolutely.
I mean, I'm not even saying we need an Aaron Rodgers. We just need somebody that can come out, throw, two fifty to 300, yards and two touchdowns. I don't need four. I don't need five. But
Because we
come
got
on,
solid
man.
running game.
Right.
Solid running.
So next, let's talk about Bill Lazor. G, what were your thoughts on Lazor in this offense?
I have some mixed feelings about Laser just because of his past, like, with Miami and stuff.
Right.
So I'm not 100 on if what he is going to do is going to stick and it's going to work. But I will say that in the changes that I saw, he is trying to get the ball into the playmakers' hands, and I appreciate that. I think that's where it starts. I'm not sure how it's going to unfold for the rest of the season, but game one, it starts with putting the ball in the playmakers' hands, and he did that. How much can he do working with our offensive line? I don't know. That's a task that I just don't think that if even if he's the best coach out there, I don't think there's anything he can do. I think it comes down to the physical players that we have. And I think that even if he's a great offensive coordinator for us, our biggest issue is still going to be that offensive line. Because I think about Andy and the way he was playing this weekend, and it's like plays where people were wide open. You're right. And it's just like if you look down the field, you see that you had a touchdown right there with Brandon LaFell, but it's almost like he doesn't feel comfortable with his offensive line because he always feels like somebody's coming after him. And I wonder if that's really the biggest effect of him right now and how he's playing. And I don't know what Bill Lazor's going to do with that.
Right. And it's interesting that you say that too. Talking about the offensive line and everything, because not to harp back on Andy, but I'm gonna have to bring up this again because I'm gonna keep it real, man. Because a lot of people kind of put the homer glasses on when it comes to not just Andy but our team in general. But this is the thing: it's not just the Bengals offensive line that's bad. It's like an epidemic right now in the NFL. There are a lot of teams that don't have good offensive lines.
Aaron Rodgers.
Aaron Rodgers hasn't had a good offensive line
What did he do?
since I
Figured
think the
out.
last Super Bowl. He has never had a good offensive line. And
What did
that's the
he
thing,
do?
and that's the thing that I try to tell people. Okay, yeah, we know Dalton isn't Aaron Rodgers. Don't get us wrong. But look at how much poise Rodgers still had after being sacked 6 times compared to Andy Dalton. You really telling me there wasn't a difference there? Like I saw this dude, Carlos Dunlap, was on this man's back, and he got up out of it and was just sitting there, cool, calm, and collective. Like, okay, cool, all right, boom, I'm gonna make this happen. I'm gonna scramble out this way and make it happen. Like when I see Andy scramble, he scrambles into somebody. It's like I don't know what you're doing, but
Yeah.
anyway, I'm so glad. I'm so glad too because I hate when I try to keep stuff real because if I'm gonna say something, it's either I've done research on it, I've heard about it. I tried to tell people about Bill Lazor, and I'm glad it seems like you know about Bill Lazor too. Bill Lazor, I wasn't even happy when we made him the quarterback coach.
I didn't even realize he was our quarterback coach. That's how bad off I was. I was like,
When
wait.
I saw that, I was kind of mad. When I saw it last year when it happened at the beginning of the season, I was like, all right, just stay away from the offensive coordinator position. And now he's our offensive coordinator. But um he's definitely better than the MPZ, but I will say the same thing that I say when people compare Cedric Ogbuehi to Jake Fisher. Just because someone is better than someone else does not mean they are good. When you're comparing them to somebody who's basically trash, Zampezi, I mean, honestly,
Nobody knew anything.
me or you could have went out there and coached the game and said throw to AJ Green 20 times and give the ball to Mixon 20 times, and if we would have at least scored a touchdown, we would have been better than Ken Zampezi. All you needed to score was one touchdown,
All you need to do is find
and
it.
that's all you really needed to do. So
You're right.
to
Yeah.
me, this is my thing. I liked what he did. Like you said, I think he called a good game plan. He got the ball into the hands of the people that they needed to be in. But this is what I look at from the game and from Bill Lazor, and why I told people I wasn't too excited about Bill Lazor. Bill Lazor is an upgrade from Zampezi, but it's a slight upgrade because Bill Lazor is a guy that's going to get you probably at most 20 points a game. You can't win scoring 20 points in this league. That was one of the things that he struggled with the Dolphins. And people went back that weren't aware of Bill Lazor and went back to 2014 and thought that he was just the second coming of Mike Martz or something. And it's like that's not no. That was a outlier because if anybody watched 2015 and watched the Dolphins offense, it was horrible. The guy had a game where he called 58 passes and like 9 run plays. If you had Lamar Miller in fantasy that year, you knew exactly who Bill Lazor was because he didn't run the ball. And
He got fired.
it's just like he had ways about him where it got to the point where they actually stripped him of his play calling responsibility. So you had an offensive coordinator who couldn't even call the plays. That's a red flag. Hopefully that doesn't happen here, but the one thing that I will say that stuck out is you take away the William Jackson the third interception, that's only 17 points. 17 points isn't going to cut it against Aaron Rodgers. You look at how he spread the ball or his ball I guess placement in terms of the offense. It was only AJ Green. You didn't get LaFell involved. Tyler Eifert didn't play, but Tyler Boyd only had 1 catch. The thing that didn't make sense to me, and the thing I don't know if it's a staff thing or what, I think that Joe Mixon obviously needs more carries, and he did get those. But why isn't Giovanni Bernard getting carries? You put the guy in. The guy had 3 touches yesterday. 3. On one of those 3 touches, he scored a touchdown. He caught a pass out of the backfield and scores, and then you put him on the bench. Giovanni Bernard is a weapon. I don't understand how offensive coordinator can't put it to the point of, hey, we need to get this guy on the field at receiver. We need to have him on the field at the same time as Joe Mixon. I just don't understand that. I really don't understand that.
I don't understand. Well, I mean, yeah, I think you just, I don't know who. I guess the thing with the Bengals is that I think about is if you have somebody like Marvin Lewis and Marvin Lewis is gone, or you have a position like an offensive coordinator position that comes available, how many people are rushing to Cincinnati for these coaching positions? And I think that's why we end up with Marvin Lewis for all these years. I think that's why we keep getting coaches and bringing them up from like quarterback coaches, offensive coordinators, and moving them up. I think it's because people don't want to come to Cincinnati to coach. Why don't people want to come to Cincinnati to coach? Mike Brown. And I think that's why you get stuck with your Bill Lazors. You have a few highlights in like a Mike Zimmer, a Lou Jackson. What's his name? Jackson.
Hugh Jackson.
Hugh Jackson.
Right.
I'm not going to say Jay Gruden because I don't think he's a highlight, but just you get those few highlights from here and there. But I honestly think that people aren't rushing to Cincinnati to coach. And
right.
That might be an issue.
One thing I will say though, and I said this yesterday when I was talking to some of the fellas. To me, a lot of our fans are going to compare Bill Lazor to Ken Zampese. But if you even compare him to Jay Gruden, who, like you said, he was okay. He wasn't, a major star or anything like that.
Vanilla offense.
But if you compare it to his offense or Hugh Jackson's offense, the offense scored a lot more than they do now. It wouldn't be hard for you to see them scoring like 25 or 30, 35. You see some trick plays in there. You don't see that no more. You really don't see that. It's not easy for this offense to score. And although Bill Lazor did good in the first half, we still had the second half where you only scored 3 points. Yeah. Right. And I just don't understand why it's like I heard this a long time ago from one of my friends that was a Philly fan. And before I used to be against it, but now I'm kind of starting to see it. And it's like, I don't know if our fans have been used to mediocrity for so long that they're just willing to settle for slightly better than media. Like, I don't understand, bro, like how you can look at Bill Lazor and say, oh, just because he's better than Zampese, he's a good offensive coordinator. Like, no, it doesn't work like that. It really doesn't work like that. Like, you're talking about a team that went up and put up 24 points compared to a team like the Rams, who has nowhere near as many offensive weapons as we do,
Oh,
goes out and puts up 41, but we can only put up 20. Just no excuse for this team with as many weapons. You have three running backs on your team that could start anywhere. You
yeah.
have AJ Green. You have Brandon LaFell. You have all of these weapons, and you're getting excited over 24 points. I can't get down like that, man. I can't. This is a scoring league now. This is a scoring league now. As good as our defense is, this is a scoring league. Cats are gonna put up points. Like
Not
when you
winning.
go and play a team like the Patriots, when you go and play a team like the Falcons, when you go and play a team like even New Orleans, like you're gonna have to put up points, bruh. You're gonna have to put up points. So what I want to see from Laser is, can we take that next step to hitting 30? When we drop 30 on somebody, then my opinion on Bill Laser will change. But like I said, not to take anything away from him, I think he did decent, but I'm not sold on him yet either.
I mean, no, we looked better in one game, and that's one game.
Right,
So that's not much. You can't base much of anything off of one game. So you're right, and I mean, I know what happened down there in Miami. I remember that. I just didn't know that we got ended up getting him after that. Until
right. I mean, like, and it's crazy because the first thing, I don't understand it, man. But it's like when I say stuff that is like real, because I'm in Florida. It's not like I don't run into Dolphins fans. It's not
right,
like I don't sit here and go to these bars and see Dolphins fans. I knew who Bill Lazor was, and I don't even watch Dolphins games. I don't watch any other games other than the Bengals. So the fact that I know what like who another team's offensive coordinator is because they've told me.
yep.
And like, people just were like, "Oh, Bill Lazor is good. Look at the 2014," and it's like, nah, bruh. It's like, nah, bruh. Tannehill had his best year. No, he didn't.
No,
It
like
was
he
with Adam Gase.
wasn't Bill Lazor fired mid season?
Bill Lazor was, yeah, he was fired early.
Yeah, he was fired
He
early,
was
and then
fired early.
they got that
Bill
game.
Lazor is the reason why Lamar Miller left Miami.
Yeah,
He's the reason why he left there. And I mean, the one thing I will say, the only person that really benefited from Bill Lazor's offense was Jarvis Landry. That was it. That was it.
yeah. He was tearing up fantasy back in there too.
Yeah, he was definitely tearing up
Tearing
fantasy,
up
but
fantasy.
they were
Remember that.
it just wasn't conducive to like a regular efficient scoring offense though. It's like they really were stagnant, and I just that's what I fear. I mean, with him having his job on the line, essentially he's gonna be on the hot seat already. Hopefully he can change it around, but I don't know. But yeah, it's like whenever you say something that's either critical of this team or just real, it's like, oh, you're not a real fan or you're a pessimist. Like, nah, bro, I'm telling you what
I'm
I'm
just
seeing on the
tired of
field.
being a losing team. How
And
about
it's crazy. It's crazy because I came out with a video a couple weeks ago after the loss where I was heated and I was like, these things need to change. Ken Zampese needs to get fired. Andre Smith needs to start. I've been saying Andre Smith needs to start since like the preseason.
yeah? I don't.
I've been saying, but then all of a sudden it actually happens, and everybody's like, "Oh yeah, he's." But I was saying that weeks ago, like, and I'm a casual hardcore fan. Like, you are coaches, you guys get paid to do this. How am I seeing this before you are?
I don't
Like,
know.
oh man. But anyway, moving on. We are playing the Browns this week. What are your thoughts on this upcoming game?
I mean, I love to say that we got it. It's the Browns. We'll knock them down, but it's a rivalry, and it's always a hard game for us. And I think it's going to be even harder game two with our offense trying to continue to be the scoring offense that I think they should be against the Cleveland defense. If Miles Garrett come back, I don't know. I think it's going to be a close game, but I do think that we could, because of our defense, we might be able to pull it off. But I think their defense is going to give us a hard time.
I think you're right. That would suck if this is the game that Miles Garrett comes back.
I know, right?
Um, honestly, I'm just gonna be real. Marvin Lewis is still coaching this team. So one other characteristic of Marvin Lewis is that our team always plays down to the competition. We saw it with the Texans. We were playing against a Texans team that had like 20 guys on the injury report. Deshaun Watson threw for 90 yards and they won. Um, this is what scares me. We saw a little bit of and you know a lot of people jumped on Dre for the last game, and I'm not gonna put that second touchdown on Dre. Like when Jordy Nelson caught that touchdown, that was just a
That's
great
Aaron
pass.
Rodgers.
That's an Aaron Rodgers throw.
That's Aaron Rodgers right there.
That's Aaron Rodgers right there. But you know, Pac-Man had a lot of lapses in the last game, bro. And Hugh Jackson knows this team in and out. And we know that Hugh Jackson is calling that offense.
Yep.
That scares me.
Vontez come back next week though.
Vontez will be back. That is what I think saves us.
I hope that's
If I'm throwing out a prediction like right now, early in the week, I'm thinking it's gonna be. I'm gonna say let's go with 23 to 20. That's what I'm going to go with. That's what I'm going with.
I'm thinking something like 24-27. It's going to be close.
I can see that. I hope we actually do put up 27. Hey, if we put up 27, I'd be happy. But I think right now,
let's get there.
Right now, what scares me is you have the familiarity with Hugh Jackson on both sides of the ball.
Yep.
You also have the pressure of going 0-4 on this team and Marvin Lewis. Marvin Lewis never plays well in games where it's like a must win or something like that. That scares me. But I think we pull this one out. Now, if we lose this game, man, I don't know what I'm.
Heads need to roll if we lose this game.
Heads need to roll, man. I mean, like you said. But I think all in all, we'll come out of this game with a W. And if we can't come out of this game with a W, then like you said, heads need to roll. But one last thing. We talked about this time after time, and that's another thing people are trying to say you pessimistic if you bring this up. John Ross. We sat the worst nightmare of my nightmare scenario happened because like before this whole thing happened, when it was draft season and everything, like there was only one reason I didn't want John Ross. And it's like people call you a hater, but it's like the only reason I didn't want John Ross is because John Ross had bad knees. And why has John Ross not played? Because of his bad knees. And it's like I didn't want us to be in this position when you picked a guy in the top 10 and now he has spaghetti knees. But the worst part about it is you knew he had them. It's like reports are going out before the draft that no team in the NFL trusted John Ross's knees. But somehow the Bengals cleared him.
That's because it looked
and the thing that killed me though was how are you a Bengals fan and you have faith in our team doctors when you know these the same doctors that cleared Antonio Bryant's knee and the dude never even played and we gave him like $8 million a year.
But even with all that, how many times was the ball thrown his way in the first two games that he played in? Not often at all.
Like you said.
If you had an offensive coordinator like Zampese anyway, Zampese doesn't know
I think
like John Ross.
I think preseason included, John Ross has as many snaps as like one series. So it's like all of these games.
You dropped all this money, drafted high for this person, and you still, even when he was in the game, it's not like you were really giving him any attention at all anyway. Right. I just really think that wasn't the right mix for us, and
it wasn't. I mean, I hope it turns around.
Absolutely.
But it's like, come on, man. Like there were so many other good players that we could have had that we don't have now. Now we just have to really take the risk with John Ross, and that leads me into this, man. Tyler Eifert again, obviously is hurt again. He's hurt again. So you mean to tell me, You've already invested a first round pick on a guy that's clearly talented. When Eifert is 100% healthy, he's clearly a top 3 tight end. I even went as far as one time to say back in 2015 he was more dangerous than Gronk. But that just shows you right there, it doesn't matter how good you are if you can't stay on the field. And it's like I almost fear that we're heading into this same situation with John Ross, because when I looked into John Ross, I didn't just study John Ross, but I studied everybody in their injury history. And John Ross had like 3 knee injuries when he was in college. That's not nothing to sneeze at. And now he's still got, I mean, it's, to me, like I said, if it was his shoulder or something right now, I wouldn't be as worried. It's his knee again. And I mean, you've seen with Tyler Eifert, stuff like this can linger. So I'm kind of worried about that.
I forgot.
Another dude that I tried to tell people about, even though Mixon is doing his thing, Dalvin Cook. Look at Dalvin Cook now.
Oh.
Look at Dalvin Cook now. Oh, he's not. He's supposed to go in the second round. I've tried to tell y'all fooling if you don't want Dalvin Cook. Dalvin Cook had Case Keenum out there looking like a baller.
I didn't know what was happening when I made that prediction. I predicted the Bucks easy over the Vikings because Case Keenum was playing. Right. I'm like, yo, what in the world is happening out here in Minnesota? Dalvin
Cook doing everything. 169 all-purpose yards.
And see that opened up the door to where you could have drafted up early for this offensive lineman, or we could have got another linebacker. We could have had, what's his name that's actually hurt right now out in San Francisco?
Reuben Foster. This was my thing, G. Like, from day one in the draft, like, what I was thinking of is we needed to do whatever it was for us to be a better team. And so, like, initially I wanted Reuben Foster, but this was, like, before free agency really started.
That's before
I remember telling cats, I was like, look, man, if Witt and Kevin Zeitler leave, we need to draft Cam Robinson. All right. Nah, I'm not feeling the whole Cam Robinson thing. I was like, all right, y'all realize if we don't keep one or two of them and we don't draft a lineman, y'all realize that Jake Fisher and Cedric Ogbuehi are going to be our starting tackles, right? Okay. That ends up being what actually happens. And I'm sitting there like, we need to draft Cam Robinson at 10. Now, this is why all of these draft experts and all of this are throwing him under the bus, saying that the guy's a guard. He's not a first-round pick. All right. But anybody that's actually watched film on Cam Robinson.
I was like,
phone died on me. But yeah, like I was saying, let me get back position here. But yeah, I was saying, we need to go with Cam Robinson or whatever. And a lot of people were like, he's not even a first rounder, all of this. Is the starting left tackle for the Jags, and dude is balling. Right. Dude is balling. We could have had him.
Those are moves I'm trying to make.
Could have had him. No. So hold on 1 second. Let me get everything back on here. All right. Okay, you there?
Yep.
All right. So yeah, like, I don't know, man. Hopefully things work out, but oh man.
It wouldn't be an NFL season if the Bengals weren't giving us a headache.
Yeah, it really wouldn't. You're right about that, but we'll see, man. Joe Mixon is definitely good, but the one thing that I will say that Joe Mixon has as a weakness is that he goes down too easy. And that kind of affected us in the last game.
The yards after the contact? Yeah.
The yards after the contact. That's the only thing. Like, Joe Mixon is an amazing running back. Don't get me wrong. If there's any flaw about him is that. And it's kind of crazy because you would think it would be the opposite between him and Cook because he's the bigger back.
Yeah,
he's bigger than Cook. He's like 25 pounds bigger than Cook, but
yeah, I was just surprised.
Cook just had, I think, a game where it was like he had 85 or 78 yards after contact.
Yeah.
6 missed tackles.
I I guess that I think of Joe Mixon as more of a downhill runner than Dalvin Cook. I mean, Dalvin Cook can run downhill, but also
That's what's crazy. That's what's crazy, G. So they was just showing like the highlights. Dalvin Cook actually is a downhill runner. He's like a one cut. He makes like one cut and he goes downhill. So that's what I was trying to tell people. But it's weird because he's a smaller running back, but he plays bigger than he actually is. So he makes like that one cut and then he hits the hole.
That's what it is. Because he's smaller, but he's also not afraid to hit.
Right. He's not afraid to hit someone, and then like he can juke people too. And then when he hits that acceleration, it's just over. It's like you already know the patented Dalvin Cook run. He's gonna get one on you.
No, but it's crazy because when you said that, like every time I look at Joe Mixon, I always forget how big he really is. Like Joe Mixon ain't small. Joe Mixon is like, even I think about like tall running backs like Adrian Peterson, 6 feet.
Right.
Yeah, he's like Adrian Peterson, but I think his legs are bigger than Adrian Peterson.
He's bigger than AP. That's what's crazy. So
it's like he's tall, like he's almost the height of the receiver. And he's in the back.
Right.
His dude is huge. And I think that's why he's not getting those yards after contact, because if he go down, he's down. He ain't bouncing out like that. He's too big.
Right, and that's the thing, man. It was,
in my opinion, picks that up. That's where
he's a great runner, but the reason that I felt like Dalvin was a better fit for us is because he fits more so, and not to say that Joe isn't, but he had experience running with a bad offensive line, because like now he's in Minnesota and a lot of people are like, oh, Minnesota is, their line is doing good. Minnesota's line is still trash. Don't get it twisted.
Minnesota has a
their line is still trash. That's why Sam Bradford is hurt right now, but he was kind of used to playing with a bad offensive line. But hopefully, like, they continue to feed Mixon, because that's key. But I hate to be right about certain draft things, but right now it's looking like what I expected that we should have done. But hopefully things will turn around.
Yeah. Fingers crossed. Still early. We can still pull out a 12 and 13-3 season.
It's like the Bengals and killed our whole. It was like if you go back 4 weeks ago, we were pumped.
I know, right?
For this season.
First episode, we were ready.
Well, we were ready. So we had to give a prediction now. We gave our predictions earlier in the season. What's your prediction right now for how the Bengals will finish the season?
Right now, I'm thinking I'm hoping we get 9-7. I hope we clear that 500 rank.
I'm with you on that. I think it's possible, man. I don't want to be too optimistic. I think 9-7 is possible, though. I really do. Like, if they really get on this whole thing where they want to, turn the season around and try to, because I think it's unfair to the players, man. The players obviously have played hard. The defenses play hard. The players are actually trying. So if we could pull out 9-7, that would be ideal. Hopefully, we can go on some kind of run.
Maybe Marvin will be gone by then.
Oh man, if not, then it's gonna be a long season, y'all. I'm not even going for it. If not, it's gonna be a long season. So I think best case scenario, like you said, 9-7. Worst case scenario,
do what we did last year.
I'm gonna say 6-10, bro. I'm gonna say 6-10. Worst case scenario.
That sounds about right. Sounds about right, man. Unfortunately.
But this is the thing, G. Let me ask you this, and I'm gonna ask all Bengals fans. You guys comment and everything. What you think? Would you rather the Bengals go 9-7 and miss the playoffs, not make the playoffs, miss the playoffs, or would you rather us go 5-11 and fire Marvin and have that top 5 draft pick?
Fire Marvin.
At this point, bro, like, it's crazy because I called my nephew and he said that, and he was like, well, I'm so numb to the Bengals now. I'm kind of torn on if I even want us to do good, just so if we do bad, we'll at least fire Marvin.
Look, I was low-key looking at Lamar Jackson highlights a few weeks ago, like, well, is it too early to start throwing these games and maybe we can get a good look at Lamar Jackson?
I'm with you, man. This is
We don't have
another
like
thing.
offense. We don't have
This
that
is
offense.
another thing I'm thinking, G. So even though I know this is not probably going to happen at all, Drew Brees is going to be a free agent next year, bro.
Ooh.
Drew Brees is going to be a free agent next year. You have an option. To me, I would trade Andy Dalton, right?
Yeah, gotta
But
get
you
rid of
telling me Andy Dalton is that good? You're that satisfied with Andy Dalton that you would not go after Drew Brees?
But you got to think about the idea of if Drew Brees is ever going to leave New Orleans. I don't think Drew Brees will leave New Orleans.
I think it's gonna happen because, and this is why I say that, like,
because of what they've been doing last year.
New Orleans. I think New Orleans is like number one in the NFL in terms of their dead cap. Like they're still paying CJ Spiller for like the next 3 years. He's not even on the team.
CJ,
they're really bad with their money. They're very bad. They're like the worst in the league when it comes to the money. So like Drew Brees, I feel like if he was gonna stay there, they would have came to some kind of extension before the season. But it's like if they don't, then they're gonna have to basically give him $30 million that they don't really have. So I wonder if and I mean, you could be right. They could end up signing an extension at the end of the season, during the season. But to me, that's an extension that you should have gotten done, bro.
yeah.
And the fact that you had those constraints where you can't really, because it's not like this is the NBA where you have a luxury tax and you can just be like, okay, we're gonna give Drew Brees this $30 million. But let's just say, hypothetically speaking, let's just say he is a free agent, right? Would you not sign him?
Absolutely, I'm signing Drew Brees because Drew Brees is exactly what you've been looking for. Regardless of your offensive line, what it looks like now, you can keep the same offensive line, but Drew Brees is gonna get that ball off and he's gonna make plays.
Exactly. Like we're talking about a guy that's thrown for 5,000 yards with bums, basically. He had like Brandon Cooks and bums.
I mean, he still got bums, and he just beat the Panthers.
And even like, I'm not sure how the Chargers season is gonna go because I think they're 0-4 too. But if Phillip Rivers is out there, are you not gonna go after him?
I don't know. You know why? Okay. In my opinion, Phillip Rivers is a Tony Romo of the West Coast, who is also, in my opinion, an older version of Andy Dalton. Andy Dalton is a young version of Tony Romo. Andy Dalton is very capable.
Yeah, I gotta disagree with you on that one. What? I gotta disagree.
No, Andy Dalton is very capable of doing what he's supposed to do if all pieces fall into place. But Andy Dalton is not going to take you to a Super Bowl. Phillip Rivers ain't going to take you to no Super Bowl. And neither did Tony Romo. They're great players. They had great opportunities, but they just didn't have it. And I don't think that Phillip Rivers got it. All them years.
I agree with you. I agree with you to a point. I will make an argument that Phillip Rivers, ever since LaDainian Tomlinson left, has not had a good team around him. They have not put anybody around him.
Nobody? I mean, what's his name? Kelvin Benjamin's a good receiver. What's his name?
You talking about Keenan Allen. Keenan Allen. When he can stay healthy.
Not Kelvin Benjamin, Travis Benjamin. Keenan Allen.
Travis Benjamin is one of those receivers where they have that random good year and then somebody pays them a bunch of money and then they just disappear.
I don't know.
But this is the thing. This is the thing with Phillip Rivers, though.
I still think
this is the thing with Phillip Rivers, though. With Phillip Rivers, when Keenan Allen gets hurt, when Travis Benjamin gets hurt, when I think at one point they had somebody else, when all those guys get hurt, he has like that kind of Aaron Rodgers effect where, okay, now Malcolm Brown is going to come in and give you 2 touchdowns. When somebody like Dez Arujutu or whatever is catching touchdowns and you like, who is this dude? I think Phillip Rivers has that aspect. And this is another thing why Andy Dalton would never beat Phillip Rivers. Phillip Rivers threw for 500 yards in the game one time. But Andy Dalton would never do that in his life.
So, okay, one time. It's just, I guess I'm thinking of Phillip Rivers in his aspect of taking it to the next level.
No, not. Now I get you on that one. Like,
I guess, yeah, you're right. I mean, quarterback skill wise, all right, Phillip Rivers definitely has that arm, and Phillip Rivers almost is like Aaron Rodgers and Drew Brees as far as getting the ball to whoever's open. I get that.
Right.
But as far as bringing him to Cincinnati, I think he's still going to keep us in the same place. Like, okay, we might go to a wild card game, we might win it, but we're not going nowhere else.
This is my thoughts. I think if you gave, because I can't even remember when the Chargers have even had a good defense since Sean Merriman retired.
Had a good defense in forever.
If you gave Phillip Rivers, AJ Green, all of these weapons, this run game, and a defense, like just a deep. I don't think Phillip Rivers has ever had a defense. Like I can't remember the last time the Chargers were stopping anybody. If you gave Phillip Rivers this defense and this team, man, oh my God.
I mean, even now, still after these, like next year, you still got it.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's just my wonder is like, you know, if things do go bad, I don't want to see a full rebuild, man. Like, I would love to have a Lamar Jackson or something like that, but to me, I feel like you still have to have that learning curve with him. Like, at the point where this team is, with all of the talent on the team, Marvin's basically essentially built up a Super Bowl caliber team. I think if a new coach comes in and it's not somebody that they've hired internally, you could possibly see a veteran quarterback be brought in. And an example that I'll bring up, even though he wasn't the coach, when John Elway took over the Denver Broncos, right? First thing he did was, I'm going and getting paid. Yeah. Like, this Tebow stuff is over. I'm going and getting Peyton. I'm bringing Peyton in. And I really wouldn't be surprised if Drew Brees did become a free agent that he wouldn't do the same thing next year. But you got to bring in somebody that you know is going to actually put up, you know, consistent numbers with this offense. And you can't bring in another rookie unless it's like an Andrew Luck type rookie. You can't bring in another rookie, bro.
Right. Yeah. Or you just keep AJ McCarron and get rid of Andy.
Yeah. So you guys let us know what your thoughts are. Obviously, we are trying to hold on here. We've been holding on for a minute though, so this is nothing compared to like the Gus Frerotte years and all of that. We done been through a lot, but this is, to me, in a sense, this one is this season and these last couple of seasons have been somewhat disappointing just because you actually have a good team and then you just going out there and being garbage. But
I think it really opens up your eyes to how important coaching is. Like, you can have all the talent in the world, but if you don't have the right coaches to direct them in the right direction, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter at all. That's why you have a Bill Belichick that can take nobody and win Super Bowls, because it's all about the coaching. You getting all 52 members of that team in a whole the same mindset, but understand we're all trying to win and figuring out the best way to do that. Do your job. If your coach can't do that, then I mean,
do your job. That's funny. It's funny that you say I'm not making fun of what you're saying. It's just funny because that was one of Marvin Lewis's things. Do your job, but he can't even do his own job.
Like now, like step up and be a head coach. Then, like, put some fire into somebody's ass. Like, motivate somebody. Like, I don't feel motivated when I see Marvin on the field.
Before we get out of here, that's the biggest thing that I hate about Marvin Lewis, bro. Like, somebody will mess up on the sideline, and you over there talking about some. What are you clapping for, bro? What are you clapping for? You should be yelling at this dude. You should be yanking him over there.
Get in somebody's face,
man. It's just like, all right, come on, bro.
Marvin ain't here for the shit. I'm just.
Oh man. Yeah, y'all let us know what you think the Bengals should do, man. We're scrambling here, but obviously I think everybody in Who They Nation can agree on firing Marvin. I think that I think we're all good on that one. Right. But as usual, I'll leave you guys with a Who Day all day, every day, and especially on Sunday. Make sure that you guys subscribe, comment, let us know what you think, and we'll be back with you guys. We could probably try to do something this weekend before the game, if that's possible, G. We'll probably try to jump on. But as usual, you guys take it easy. And this is me, Ace Boogie, and my co-host G, signing off.
Bye, guys.